I'm lost. Well, not really. But if I was lost, I've had somebody ask me, well, what would I do? So I'm going to take this time now to talk about getting lost and what to do when you do get lost. So stay tuned. And what luck, if I was lost, I've got a helicopter going over my head right now. The luxury of living near a military base. If you're lost, the first thing you need to do is just stop what you're doing, right? If you don't know where you've gone, you don't know where you've got off the trail, you don't know what happened, then the first thing you need to do is just stop, okay? And we use that acronym here at Three Ravens Bushcraft, the STOP acronym, and what it stands for is stop, take note, observe your surroundings, and plan, okay? So when I tell you to stop, just stop and take a drink of water, because a hydrated brain makes a much better decision than a dehydrated brain. So the next thing with that is that it's going to probably slow down your breathing a bit. It's going to obviously, you know, hydrate your brain, which is good because that's the key to your whole survival, is having a will to survive and a good brain. And then the next thing you're going to do is take note, right? Take note of what it is you have, right? So we talked about the 5 C's in one of my other videos, right? So the cordage, the container, the cutting tool, the combustion, and the cover, okay? Basically, the reason why we pick those 5 C's is because it's really hard to make those out in nature all the time and make them really well. And so if we have those 5 C's, it gives us a good start on surviving the night, or probably 72 hours, because that's basically what search and rescue is looking for, is to try to find you within that 72 hours. Okay, so let's take note of what I got. Well, first of all, I've got my clothing, right? So I've already got my first layer of cover, right? And then I have my cutting tool, right? So when we talk about cutting tools, should be a good full tang knife, something that you can actually put a lot of work into. My mentor Moore says a good survival knife is a sharp pry bar. Well, that's not too far from what that tool is right there. Also, having fire on you or combustion, right? So here I have my metal match, but also I always carry with me, if I can get it in my hand here, I always carry with me my lighter, and it's always tied on to me. This way, if something were to happen or lose my pack or whatever, then I would actually have my lighter at least, because I think fire is one of the biggest things to help us out in the bush. The next thing, my container. Well, I already had a container to drink water with, but I also have a container to brew up with water and all that good stuff, right? If I figure I'm going to stay here for quite a while, then obviously that's a consideration. I'm going to maybe look for starting to get my firewood and that kind of stuff. And then lucky for me, I've got lunch. One thing that's always in my pack, whether it's summer or winter, is a spare set of gloves and a hat. Always, always, always. I'm a bald guy, so for me, I need to have a hat. And this hat is like adding another layer onto my body, so that's a good thing to have. So hats are good to have for sure. And then the last thing is cover. So there's a misconception out in the survival world that this little survival blanket, well, that it's a blanket, and it's really, it shouldn't be called that, because it's not really what it does. A blanket has our value. This doesn't really have that. And one of the other things that we always see is that people take these blankets and you see it all the time in the pictures for these blankets, is they take them out and they wrap it around them like a blanket. But the reality of it is that that's not how this works, right? These Mylar blankets, the way that they work is to actually reflect your body heat back to you. So if you put it on top of all your layers, it's probably not going to work nearly as well. It might work for a wind barrier. Sooner or later it's going to reflect some of that heat that's getting through all those layers. But it's not going to work nearly as efficiently as if it would if it was closer to your skin and closer to your body. So, you know, a good way to do that is maybe take off your layers, put the blanket around you, and put your layers back on, right? And that would help you out. The other thing is that you can see how extremely shiny this blanket is. So, one, it gives us a nice vapor barrier. You know, we can use that on the back side of our shelter, and as it's sitting there doing nothing but, you know, providing shelter, it's also providing a signaling device, and that's pretty awesome. One of the things I see a lot too is these emergency pup tents, and they're not really all that good for shelter, so maybe not exactly the thing you want to carry with you. And then, of course, the after you've taken note of all the good stuff that you have, observe your surroundings. All right. So if I observe my surroundings and I look and I see, okay, well, I've got a really good copse of spruce over there that maybe I can dig into to make a good shelter and get out of the wind. I've got a large opening to my front here, which makes signaling for help nice and easy. And then I have lots of dead standing wood around, which means easy firewood. All I need to do for most of it probably is just push it over. So that's good to go there. I'm not going to go down in the low ground and behind me because that's going to attract the cold. So all the cold sink will sit down in there and I'll be cold. I don't want to be sitting on the high feature out here in the bald top of the hill because then all the wind is going to get me there, right? So that's really not something I want to do. And then the last point of this is plan. Make a plan. So your plan could be nothing more than to sit here on this log and wait it out. Or maybe your plan is to go back the way you came by following your tracks to your last known point and then getting out of here. Maybe that's what you need to do, right? Survival's, search and rescue's goal is to try to get you out of the woods within 72 hours. So if we think on short-term survival, and we have the mental toughness, we can probably stick it out 72 hours. So if you can go and get back to where you came from by following your tracks through the snow, then maybe that's your option, that's your plan. But if you're injured or something's gone horribly wrong and you can't go out, then maybe you need to stay put and wait for, you know, somebody to come get you. And if that's the case, if you've left a 5-point contingency plan with somebody before you left, then there's probably a really good chance that they're going to be on their way and they're going to come out and get you, and probably before that 72 hours. So that's it. You're lost, and hopefully you've made the right decisions, and either search and rescue finds you, or you get your way back out because you can follow your tracks, or you know which way to go. Okay? There's lots of other great survival stuff that you could bring with you all the time, but in this case, I just want to talk about how those 5 C's kind of work, and then also what you should do if you do get lost. Just a quick one. Hopefully this helps you out, and hopefully you just continue to stay out in the bush and have a good time, because right now the weather's beautiful and you need to take advantage of it. So take care. Cheers. That helicopter's like, why is this guy just wandering around in the bush by himself? I can observe that I have a helicopter that's circling me. Good fun. And then I also look at all the material that I have here. This guy's just not going to leave me alone. Because I'm going to make a plan, right? So what's my plan? My plan could be nothing more than to sit here on this log and wait for that helicopter to come pick me up. In this case, that plan would be pretty darn good. If I wanted to, I could bring him over here by just signaling him with my mirror. He's about a kilometer away still, and that's an easy shot for my signal mirror. I wish he would just go away. How often do you say that in the woods?